to take this opportunity and recap a couple of segments that we featured earlier this season. If you remember, in February, we planted a nectarine tree, and at that time, we cut it back to 18 inches. You can see right here is where we've cut it back. And at that time, it looked a little drastic, I do realize, but you can see how well it has grown in one season. By cutting that, we've allowed these other branches to sprout out, and that's given us a lower canopy that will be better for harvesting the fruit later on. Now, we're not done training it, but we won't do anything to it until next spring. But I just wanted to show you how well it's leafed out. It's got plenty of leaves on it this season that allowed for great photosynthesis and more development. The only thing we need to do is we're going to wrap it and protect it from southwest injury this winter. So you may remember in May we did a segment on shade perennials, and one of the plants that we featured was this one here, Birches. And I just love this plant, not only for the 2-foot flowering spike that it gets in the summertime, but I mentioned how great the foliage looks later in the season as well. It looked good in the spring, and it still has continued to give us a great display of foliage. You might remember that this was an example of the Corinthian columns. They use this leaf as the model for that. But we have had a freeze already here at the Botanical Gardens, and a lot of our other foliage is starting to deteriorate and look like it's shutting down for the season. But you can see that this Birches foliage is still showing a nice display. Even though it's November and this foliage still looks great, this plant is not an evergreen. It will die back, and what we do is just let those leaves kind of pile on top of those roots to insulate them through those winter months. And again, it'll flush back out next spring for us. Birches is a great plant with wonderful foliage. Recently, we just planted some cover crops in our vegetable garden here. And you can see here we've got some wheatgrass planted, and then we also have tillage radishes that we planted, as well as some clover. Now, the reason why we did a mixture was so that the wheatgrass would be a green manure to incorporate. The tillage radishes add that aeration into our soil profile as that taproot develops, and then the clover will help increase our nitrogen in our soil here. We often think about cover crops as being used in a vegetable garden to help with soil erosion and also to improve the soil, but why not use cover crops in an ornamental fashion? We're here on campus where they have used wheatgrass down the center of their container gardens. One, it kind of shrinks the size of the bed so you don't have to spend so much money on pansies or other annual color, but it also provides a nice texture and a nice green splash of color in those winter months.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.